Billionaires Borough is an exciting area of Oxford where new buildings grow and the dollars and pounds flow. This video takes a quick look at what's going on there. It's a place where many rich men have dipped deeply into their fathomless pockets to pay for an Oxford University building bearing their name. It all began, of course, with John Radcliffe, who died a very rich man in 1714. Radcliffe made his money from medicine. He tended to the monarchy. Plus, I'm sure, some very canny investments. His will established a trust, and that trust's first action was to create a library in his name. This became the Radcliffe Camera, and I have covered that wonderful building in a previous video on Rob's Oxford. The next big project for the trust was the provision of £4,000 to fund the building of Oxford's first hospital, the Radcliffe Infirmary, in 1758. It was built on 5 acres of open land, then known as Coggin's Piece, and donated by Thomas Rowney, who was the Oxford MP at that time. As you will see later, these gifts mark the true beginnings of what I call Billionaires Borough. Surprisingly, perhaps, this land was then well outside of the city itself. It was opposite a blacksmith's workshop, which later became a pub, the Royal Oak. Derek Honey, in his book titled Pubs and Taverns of Oxford, states that the Woodstock Road in those long gone days was little more than a dirt track out of Oxford, though it and the pub improved with the coming of the stagecoaches. The pub was later owned by the infirmary, and it is said that the main clients were from the hospital staff. Meanwhile, another building, also funded by the Radcliffe Trust, was completed in 1794 on what was to become Billionaires Borough. This was the rather spectacular Radcliffe Observatory, which was modelled on the ancient Tower of the Winds in Athens. It cost some £32,000, and there is a grand statue of Radcliffe on the front lawn, from which he looks rather sternly out onto the modern developments that have sprouted in the 21st century. The infirmary itself grew and grew over the centuries, the older, rather stately buildings becoming besmirched by a gathering of highly functional but rather ugly additions. Then, in 2003, the infirmary's facilities moved to the vast and new John Radcliffe Hospital in North East Oxford. The university then purchased the expanded 10.4-acre Radcliffe Infirmary site from the NHS, taking full possession of the grounds in the year 2007. Part of the Humanities department moved into the older buildings, and demolition of the many ancillary buildings that have sprung up over the years made space for a massive hub for the university's academic departments. The university christened this the Radcliffe Observatory Quarter, and this is the area that I have renamed Billionaires Borough. The first practical development was the establishment of the vast and partly subterranean Mathematics Institute. The main building of this complex is actually called the Andrew Wiles Building. However, Andrew, though he did solve Fermat's last theorem, don't ask, is not a billionaire. No, the billionaire who mostly funded this building was Landon Clay, an American who made his money from investment, particularly through his company East Hill Management. It was he who suggested naming the building after Sir Andrew Wiles. After all, he had already established his own Clay Mathematics Institute in Denver in the USA. Other contributors included the university itself, the Oxford Centre for Collaborative Applied Mathematics, and many individual donors. Costs had risen somewhat since the observatory was completed for a mere £32,000, this new building costing £70 million. Fortunately, Oxford has strict height restrictions on new build in the centre of the city, so subterranean construction was necessary for this building. Living in the Woodstock Road, I witnessed the massive excavations that took place to provide large lecture theatres, a restaurant, and more beneath the ground. Fortunately, the design of the upper floors left a gap so that I could see the more beautiful observatory building as I cycled to my home. I liked that. Next came a very different building, and for a very different purpose. This is the Blavatnik School of Government, which was completed in 2015. Its frontage faces west towards the Oxford University Press Building on Walton Street, whilst on the southern side lies the rear of Somerville College, and to the north the solid, though sadly crumbling, St Paul's Church. When the school first opened, that church was a nightclub. It has more recently closed, and the building has now been acquired by the Blavatnik School of Government. This school is very much a billionaire's baby. Blavatnik is very rich to the extent of nearly $40 billion. He is Ukrainian by birth, but his family emigrated to the USA when he was just 21. In the 1970s, he made a fortune from the privatization of Soviet industries, particularly oil. His business and philanthropic interests since then are diverse to say the least. He is now a US, UK and Greek citizen with luxurious homes in London and Manhattan. Precisely why, apart from reasons of association, he provided this generous gift to the university, I do not know. But it was not without its critics. A censorious group letter to the Guardian stated that the university should stop selling its reputation and prestige to Putin's associates. The architecture is deeply striking and controversial. It is, of course, energy efficient and is certainly modern in appearance. Personally, I like it and have spent many edifying hours attending public lectures in its many theatres, sometimes locking my bicycle to what I later discovered was a work of art. Now for the big one. The Schwartzman Humanities building opened in 2026 and now fills that empty central position of the Radcliffe Observatory Quarter alongside the Blavatnik. Stephen Schwartzman has personal wealth of nearly $50 billion, and unlike Blavatnik, he does have connections with Oxford. He visited as a 15-year-old when the beauty and the ancient character of the buildings made a huge impression on him. Many years later, he was approached by Louise Richardson, Oxford's Vice-Chancellor, and out of that meeting came the huge gift of $150 million to create this grand addition to Billionaires Borough, which brings together all of Oxford's humanity departments under one grand rooftop. Inevitably, this gift also attracted some criticism, with claims that Blackstone, the private equity firm Schwartzman co-founded, had faced accusations from the UN of contributing to the global housing crisis and to deforestation in the Amazon basin. Also, that Schwartzman had ties and had given financial support to US President Donald Trump. The building is of limestone and the rooftop is capped by a dome of similar diameters to that of the Radcliffe camera, which should have provided a nice historical linkage. Unfortunately, it cannot be seen from the surrounding area. However, you can go inside to view it, since large parts of this building are open to all. Public events are held there, ranging across theatre, music and lectures. The construction took just over 2 years, and here is a glimpse of that taking place. Construction of the last building covered here had only just begun when I made this video. It is to be located right on the edge of Billionaires Borough, on land belonging to Somerville College, and will look out onto both the Blavatnik and the Schwartzman buildings. The billionaire in this case is Ratan Tan of India, who died in 2024, just over 3 centuries after Radcliffe's demise. Ratan was chairman of the massive Tata Group, an Indian multinational conglomerate first established back in 1868. It founded many enterprises, including Air India. Hence, Ratan Tata was super rich. He donated a 10 million gift to the college towards this new building. The building will serve as a permanent home to the Oxford India Centre for Sustainable Development, which was established at Somerville back in 2013. It will include tutor offices and seminar rooms, together with shared study and event spaces. The estimated cost of the building is 15.5 million, making it the largest project in the college's history, and completion is expected in the summer of 2027.
There is still space available in Billionaires Borough, you know. Surely this ugly building is not going to be retained. So, all of you billionaires who follow my Rob's Oxford channel, take out your checkbooks and get your offer in quickly before it is snapped up. You too can then have your name engraved in the Clarendon Arch, near to the entrance to the Bodleian Library. If your cheque is very large, you may be elected to the Chancellor's Court of Benefactors Fellowship, or even better, receive the Sheldon Medal. Blavatnik did. Oh, please don't forget to like and subscribe my channel. Bye-bye.